All right, boys. Welcome to episode 3 of Rad Talk, where sports and medicine collide. I'm Gage. That's Dennis. And in today's episode, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to split our last two episodes. We did kind of sports and medicine combined. In this episode, we're just going to focus on sports. We'll give you our thoughts on round 2 now of the NBA playoffs, and then we're going to talk a little bit of NFL. I guess free agency is what you call it. So I'm going to let Dennis take
Yep.
it away here.
All right. So the first thing we're just going to jump into, we're going to talk about Philadelphia and the Boston Celtics, and we're just going to make our picks of who we think is going to win this particular game. James Harden came out, balled out the first game, came back to reality the second game. Joel Embiid was injured. He kind of one-legged it this last game, and Boston Celtics dominated with Jason Tatum scoring 7 points. And so again, according to FanDuel, they have Boston favored at 4.5, 5.5, right around there. And I think Boston's going to win again, and I think they will cover that. I think they're going to win by, I'd say, at least 7, as long as Jalen Brown is the lead guy. I think
Yeah, here we go.
I think Jason Tatum is better at dribbling than Jalen Brown. But I think that Brown is just as athletic. I think Brown is a better mid-range scorer. I think Brown is a better three-point scorer. I think Jason shoots way too many threes for the team. I think that I would allow Jalen Brown to be that guy. Jalen Brown wears the black mask, the Batman mask, for a reason. And I think they go better when he goes better. And I think it showed last game. Jason Tatum having 7 points, Jalen Brown had, I think, like 25 or so, and they dominated. And I think if they continue that, I think they're much stronger as a team with Jalen Brown leading the way. Now I know that Jason Tatum's supposed to be the leader, but if you watch the game, you watch the film, you see
Oh,
how
here
much
we
better they
go.
do it.
Yeah,
You see how much better they do it,
here
Jalen.
we go.
And I know Gage is going to absolutely agree with me because he knows I'm correct.
Yeah. What
And so
we'll have to reiterate. We both picked Boston, right, to win the whole
right,
series. I mean,
yes,
okay. Yeah, so I've been getting just railed by these picks, I'll be honest with you. I do the segment I try and pick every game on TikTok, and I have just been so bet the opposite of me. And I already put out a video prior to us making this where Philly was 2.5 underdogs. And I thought that was kind of disrespectful to be 2.5 point underdogs at home with the guy that's supposed to be the MVP of the league. So I said Philly would win. So if I said they're going to win, that means they're going to cover the points, right? We're almost end of the first quarter, and it's not looking. Philly's not off to a good start right now. Um,
yeah,
I don't know what it is. James Harden played extremely well game one. Dropped 45 points.
yep,
Looked like James Harden of old.
hmm
Boston loses, and you're like, okay, here we go. We're gonna have a series without Embiid. Then he comes back game two, and they just get blown off the floor. I don't even remember what it was. Like 30 points. They got destroyed.
hmm
And usually that's we'll get into that series a little bit later, but the Heat didn't get blown out. They played really well without Jimmy,
for
who's
sure,
their MVP, so to speak.
for sure,
So I expected Philly to play really well tonight.
yeah,
You're coming back home, and Embiid. I watched the ceremony. He got the actual award tonight,
hmm
so you knew the crowd would be pumped. The team should be pumped, and so far there's just a major letdown. It's kind of embarrassing, but
I feel like there's that big enthusiasm, and I don't know if it just drained him along with his injury. He came out and said he will not be 100%
hmm
moving forward, and so he's hurt, but he's pumped up about this MVP trophy that he's never
yeah.
had, and now they're
So
just playing like garbage.
this brought up this is a good point or a cool, I guess, a unique aspect of our podcast because Embiid was diagnosed with a grade 2 MCL sprain, right? So and just so happens that I'm doing fellowship as the same field as the person that would have read his knee MRI, right? So I can tell you what a grade 2 sprain means. Um,
Right.
the MCL obviously it's a ligament on the medial side of the knee. It keeps your knee stable. for lack of a better term. There's a whole bunch of other ligaments, but that's a very commonly injured ligament. Usually it's some kind of twisting injury. That's how he gets hurt.
Mhm.
But there's three grades. I won't get too in depth, but there's three grades. One being the best, I guess. And then three being the worst. Three is a complete tear. They have to go to surgery to get it fixed. So his was grade two, which was right in the middle. And I don't know the exact timeline, but that probably puts him at several weeks right before he's
Mhm.
fully healed.
Yeah.
So I know he's not healthy. And I think yesterday or game two, I saw some video where he had this big, like bulky brace on his knee for support. So he's not moving the way he should. um, with a grade two sprain, he should have been out. If he is to a regular season, I bet he misses like 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, but since it's the playoffs, he said, you know what, I kind of have to. And that brace isn't the only thing he's using. I'm sure there's some
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals that he is taking or have been injected that are
Right.
allowing him to get through this.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure that pain. Yeah. Grade two, so recent. I'm sure the pain is crazy. And it's a medial collateral ligament, right? MCL.
MCL, yeah, yeah.
Medial collateral ligament. So yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing about our podcast is having that medical side that you can kind of go over those grades, and so people can understand.
I didn't read any today, but I read some grade one today.
Hmm.
Grade one sprains today. You
Yeah.
don't see grade two that often. Grade three, you don't see grade two or three that often. If you see a grade three, it's usually like someone that tore their ACL and stuff too, like just really bad. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting now that I see, I could read his
Hmm.
MRI if they gave me the images.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of cool for me. Even if the listeners
Hmm.
aren't into radiology or whatever, but for me, it's kind of cool
Hmm.
to know that
Yeah.
I could read his MR if they gave it to me.
To watch this MR with this guy's monster leg that comes
Yeah,
through.
I'm sure without getting too detailed again, they use coils that are body part specific. So there's a different one for the ankle, the hand, the knee. I would
Hmm.
imagine his doesn't fit in the knee coil, so they have to use the body coil, right, which
Hmm.
does a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm sure his knee's so big that it doesn't fit in the regular
Yeah.
knee coil. So
And with his injury history, I don't know if his prior knees or ankles or whatever feet that he's had
yeah,
history of always
I
being
think he had a
hurt.
foot problem.
Definitely. So yeah, that's the cool part. Now let's go to the next game. The next game tonight is the Denver versus Phoenix. Currently,
Yeah,
according to FanDuel, Phoenix is favored by 4 points. And I'm just going to start us off. I initially wanted to jump on the Denver bandwagon, not bandwagon, but jump in with Denver and just
yeah.
say they're going to finish this job because they've been super physical. Chris Paul is out. Um, Kevin
That's
Durant and
addition by
Devin
subtraction, buddy.
yeah, yeah. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are going to be asked to lead this team of a lot of just players that they threw together um, that probably need more time to gel. Along with they probably next season, I think next season is going to be much better for them. They're going to hopefully bring some veterans in, some more pieces. Um, that being said, I think if they're going to
Mm,
win, I think Kevin Durant can win a game on his own. And so I think I would take Phoenix to win, and I think they're going to win by at least 5, and so I would take Phoenix to cover as well on this instance. But it's very tough because knowing that the Joker's just been toying with DeAndre Ayton and rebounding, flipping it up to himself and flipping it back, and just doing whatever he wants to do. Like he looks like the MVP. Um, and so I think it's with a difficult decision, but I think I'm going to go with Phoenix timidly for this one. But I think
yeah,
if they win, they're going to win by 5 at least. No, I think they'll cover. So that's my
yeah.
thoughts. What do you think? What do you think, JG?
Phoenix has kind of betrayed me. I put a lot of faith in them. I thought they were going to win the whole thing. Now,
Yeah,
I mean, I have to stick with them to pick to win the series. I don't think they're going to win the series, but
yeah,
um, I thought they would win everything. KD is a stud. You
he
could
is
argue that he's the best player in the league. Uh,
right.
Booker is one of the top players in the league. I know they're top heavy, but I mean, LeBron and Wade did it, and Bosh did it in Miami. They were very top heavy.
Right.
Um, so I think KD's good enough; they should be able to do it. So I picked the Suns both games, game one and two. I was wrong both times, obviously.
Right.
I was a little disappointed. They only scored 87 points in game two. That's a little concerning.
Yeah.
You don't even crack 90 points. That's embarrassing, frankly.
Especially when you
Um,
have Kevin Durant, especially in Kevin Durant.
yeah,
And
I mean,
and I think this goes back to Kevin. Kevin doesn't take as many. Like you'll look at the box score and he'll be like, "Oh, he scored 35," and you're like, "Oh, he could have scored 45." Like he could
yeah,
shoot so much more and do, but he just Kevin flows with the offense instead of like he's one of the like LeBron flows with the offense and does those things, but like Kevin, he can be that guy. Like he can
yeah,
take over whenever he wants. He's 7 feet tall. He can shoot 30 feet away. Block shots, rebound. He can do it all. I mean, it's tough because he's playing a very good team. Jamal Murray, the two-time MVP Joker. I mean, they're playing a great team. Um, and I think they ran into probably one of the best team in the NBA at this point. Um,
yeah. So I do happen to. I'm gonna make it 3 for 3. I already put out a TikTok that said Phoenix is gonna win. Phoenix is gonna cover. If I think they're gonna win the series, they have to win tonight. If they lose tonight, obviously it's over. Um, so I think missing Chris Paul, I think will actually be addition by subtraction. I think Cameron Payne is the backup. He's a little more younger, athletic. Chris Paul
mhm.
just is he's not the guy anymore, you know. So I think getting rid of him will actually maybe help a little bit. I think they'll be energized being at home. So I
Mhm.
think they'll win and they'll cover. Game four, different story. You know, we'll see how they play tonight, but
Yeah,
I
I,
think
I
they got to win tonight to save their season, even have a chance at saving their season. So
yeah, yeah. I agree with you, and I think they will. I think if if anybody can get to win the game, I think Kevin, and I think it could completely shift too. I mean, if they come out and Kevin Durant shows up and dominates and shows a blueprint of how they continue winning, I mean, this whole series could change. Um, but we'll see what they look like. We'll see how close the game is. We'll see if Denver shows up the way they showed up in Denver. If they show up that way in Phoenix, so
yeah,
we'll see about that. All right, our next game that we'll be talking about is the game on Saturday, I believe, and it
yeah,
is the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat. It's in Miami. Miami is favored by 4, according to FanDuel.
yeah.
Um, and
This one's
I'm gonna go.
easy.
Yeah, go ahead, Keith.
Assuming the guy's back, this one's easy for me. If Jimmy's playing,
He's back.
Miami wins. Miami covers. Um, I don't know what happened. They're just a different team. Playoff Jimmy's real. I think I said it either no, last episode. It was a perfect storm against Milwaukee. They had no business winning that series, but now that they did, the Knicks are not as good as Milwaukee. So the Heat should win the series. I think I picked the Knicks in the beginning, so I have to stick with them. But no one's going to be shocked if Miami wins the
Yeah,
series. So I think, assuming Jimmy's plays and he's even, I don't know, 75, 80% healthy, the Heat win, the Heat cover.
right. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a Heat win, but I think I would in this instance I would take. I think the difference between New York and I would not have said this a month ago. I think the difference between New York and Milwaukee is I think New York can score better. I think with Jalen Brunson, I think with Josh Hart, I think their team is able to score better than Milwaukee. Milwaukee just had a breakdown. I mean, even when we would touch on Mike Budenholzer just got fired. Just
Budenholzer,
got let
yeah,
go
he
from the
got
team.
fired. Yeah,
I mean, their team has been I think they've like been leading the division for the last couple of years. I mean, they have Giannis who's been MVP, and they just completely had a breakdown. And so yeah, I mean, he lost his job, and I think maybe that was what they needed to change some things. But I think that in this instance, I think I'm going to take New York because I think Miami playoff Jimmy shows up and but I think they're going to win by like 3 points, maybe 2 points. I think it's going to be a
so you
close
think
game.
Miami wins, but New York covers?
Yeah, I think New York covers just because I think so in this instance if I was picking I would pick New York. I think Miami's going to win, but I think New York. I think the coverage pick wise. I think that playoff Jimmy's real, but I think even the first game it was close. It's a close game. This past game without Jimmy Butler, it was a close game, and so Jimmy tips the scale. And you could see like he's a very intense player, and
Yeah.
I think he uses that like that thing on his back that he's constantly like, okay, you're on my back, like I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna be better, I'm gonna. And so I think he was watching the end of that game. They had like a cyclical smile he did at the end of the last game when he wasn't playing, and so he's like, okay, I'm ready for you. And so I think they're definitely going to win. I think playoff. I think Jimmy's going to show up. I don't know how many points he's going to score or what. He's going to do what's necessary for the team to win. I think by three. So that's my thoughts. Um, anyways, but yeah, the whole Budenholzer thing with the Milwaukee. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. They won like what was it? ESPN said like 70% of their regular season games during his,
Tenure,
while he was head coach.
right?
Uh, but they just didn't. I think they kind of underachieved in the postseason. They
For
were the
sure.
number one seed multiple times, and they only got one title. And if Giannis is really that dude, right, they should have gotten a couple more, maybe one more title.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so too.
so I think Giannis is signed fairly. I don't know what how long it is, but he's not going to go anywhere. So they had
It's
to do
his,
something, and
yeah, it's his team, and I think there's a lot. There's hopefully they find a good coach that they can bring in and can bring whatever they're missing offensively. Giannis has a lot of offensive deficiencies that he makes up with being 7 feet tall and the Greek freak, with his part of his shooting, his free throws, his.
yeah,
But he's a great dribbler. He's a great ball handler. He's great around the rim. Obviously, 7 feet tall. He's super athletic. He's still really young, so he's got that. He's just entering his, I think, um, peak, or the beginning of his peak.
yeah,
So I think they're going to have. They bring in the right coach. I mean, obviously Chris Middleton's getting older, and so
yeah.
they need. I think they
Drew
need to bring.
Holiday's getting older.
I
Brooke
think they need
Lopez getting older.
right. They need to bring in some more. Yeah, PJ was a PJ. No, no, they're taking somebody else. They need to bring in some more pieces around Giannis, like they did. Maybe similar to like how they did with Dwight Howard in the Orlando Magic way back in 2009, where they just surround him with Rashard Lewis and all these shooters.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what
I
they
mean
need to do.
that's the LeBron treatment, right? Like
Right. Yeah. Put around
Giannis
LeBron.
is no different than. I mean, he's a very similar player to LeBron.
Right.
Can't really
Yeah.
shoot. Super athletic. He can finish at the rim. He just needs space.
Right.
So
Which LeBron's developed a better shot over the years, his mid range. I think
yeah,
LeBron's way too many threes. He went 3 of 8 at the game yesterday when they got
yeah, he's getting
decimated
old. Yeah,
against the Warriors. But that was another thing. Like I think everybody saw the Warriors were going to beat them yesterday. I know Gage and I were talking off camera, and we was like Warriors by 50, which is
hmm
essentially they won by 27. But it wasn't even a contest. It was a bad game to watch. um, but
yeah.
yeah,
I stopped
anyways,
watching very early. So
yeah, yeah, because you didn't miss anything. Yeah, otherwise,
yeah, so that
uh,
leads us into the last. They're the last game, right? The last two
mhm,
teams we have to talk about still. So their
right.
game is it tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern time, and it is
It's
the
at it's at crypto.com arena.
that's right.
It's a atrocious name.
And they're favored unless they want to sponsor us. They're favored by 3 points. The Lakers are favored by 3 points in LA at
Okay.
Crypto Arena,
Okay.
against
Okay.
Golden State. I think in this game, um, man, I'm gonna let you start, Gage, because I've been going back and forth. Like
Yeah, this I think this one's fairly easy for me as well. There's one recurring theme in the playoffs that's been good and bad for the Lakers, and that's AD. So he played I mean, he was a monster game one, right? 30 points, 20 rebounds, just played out of his mind.
mhm,
Uh, Last night was the exact opposite. He had like 11 points. Um, so I think he's had this trend where he's good, he's great, right? Then he's either good or really bad, and then he's great again. So I think he's probably heard enough from last night's game, today, of people like Stephen A. Smith just railing him over and over, like you're not that dude, yada yada yada. So I think he's going to play really well
mhm,
in Game Three. I think LeBron will be, himself.
mhm,
Um, the nice thing about going home is your role players usually play much better than they do on the road.
right.
D'Lo didn't play great. He played okay in Game One, but not Game Two. But someone like Austin Reeves will play better at crypto.com arena.
Mhm.
So I think you said 3 points.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think the Lakers win, and I think they cover the 3 points.
Yeah. I think either team wins. I think that it's going to cover either way. I think that I also believe that. Man, it's so tough because I want to take Golden State. I feel like they're grooving. Steph has been he distributed really well last game, but it was such a blowout. When LeBron gets down, he doesn't do as well coming back. But he's a great once LeBron gets up. I think he does a great job of staying up. I don't know all the stats on that, but I think if you're going with the Lakers, give me the Warriors. Give me the Warriors with to to win. So they'll cover, obviously.
This
If
man's
it's
taking the money line on the Warriors. Wow.
yeah, give me the Warriors. Um,
Wow.
mhm. And I
I
mean,
didn't
if
see
they're
that coming. The Warriors are
what
one
I mean,
of, if not the worst teams on the road.
right.
They were like
I think,
11-31 or something stupid during the regular season on the road.
and I think that whoever wins Game 3 wins the series like 70% of the time, and so it's
And LeBron has like a ridiculous stat where if he wins game one, he goes on to win the series at like a ridiculously high percentage of the time.
right
So I mean the Warriors have to win one of these games.
for
Obviously,
sure.
they can't go even though they would have home court. Game 5 and 7, they can't go back to Oakland down 3-1. They're not going to come back from that. Like I just
No.
don't think that's
I
so.
think and we'll see. You have to see my pick after the Warriors win tomorrow. I'll go into what I think is going to happen next, and then teach you a little bit more about basketball.
Follow us on TikTok for that.
Less than TikTok. Yeah. And so the next thing we kind of wanted to touch on, I believe, was
We
a
got some
little
more
bit of
NBA news.
yeah. Well, we were just going to go over, obviously Embiid. We talked about Embiid getting the MVP.
Yeah,
I Jason Tatum. We went into what's going on with the Celtics. I also saw something the other day that the Celtics said that Joe Mazzulla, the head coach, just kind of plays it in
just
game and
random.
make
Yeah,
just
yeah,
random plays and just randomizes things and just goes with it. Which I guess I don't know. I don't know if other NBA teams have done that over the years and they just haven't talked about that's the way they do it. But I feel like if you don't, you need to obviously you need to have a game plan, and then if that plan doesn't come through, then you can obviously change it. But to just come in and be like, well, we're just going to figure it out, doesn't sound like it should have. Like if you're at the YMCA pickup, like maybe, but like not
yeah.
in the NBA where these guys like it's their job to do all these things, and you're not preparing your team to like win. And I think if that's really true, then like that's what we're seeing with the Celtics. Like this is why they're doing poorly, is because they're not prepared to win. Maybe Joe Mazzulla, them giving this extension to him wasn't a good idea in the first place. Ma Udoka, everything that happened with him, maybe he was end up being the better coach. Maybe they should have suspended him for the year instead of or suspended for the year and then let him come back possibly and reevaluate, or maybe not extend Joe Mazzulla for um, this duration.
Well, don't
I'm
speak
not.
too early now.
Yeah, I'm
You know,
not. I'm not trying to say. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not trying to condone or anything that that Ma Udoka did or anything.
if they're holding the trophy in the end of June, yeah, that
It's not.
extension's gonna be worth it.
It's
So
not going to happen. There's no way the Celtics win. It's
yeah.
not going to happen. But um,
I think we have a little more LeBron related news, right? With Dylan Brooks,
oh yeah,
just
yeah.
the
That's a
clown show.
Oh yeah, and it's funny. I was listening to Draymond Green, calling him a clown on his podcast, and said,
Yeah,
they're never gonna win with Dylan Brooks, and yeah, everybody just kind of clowning on Dylan Brooks, and LeBron going up during the Memphis game to Dylan Brooks, and a lot of times when LeBron's talking to somebody, you can see him kind of cover his mouth with his shirt, and so you can't see what he's saying. But in this instance, he was like, "Oh no, like I want everybody to be able to figure out what I'm
yeah.
saying to Dylan Brooks," and I was like, "That says a lot." Because and I don't know what he said to him, but I guess you could read the lips if you could. And then Memphis gets rid of Dylan Brooks, so he's gone. Like and
Yeah,
how
so
they
that was
did it,
poor timing on his part, right? Like you knew your contract was up. Maybe you shouldn't be doing things that might not get you
right?
re-signed. But a lot of people are wondering if he's done, right? Like, is anyone going to want him? I saw something the other day. I don't remember where it was, but might have been Adrian Wojnarowski posted that the Heat actually are interested. They were the odds-on favorite to land Dylan Brooks. So
Gosh,
someone's going to take a. He's not done. Like someone's going to take a shot on him. You can only hope that this experience was humbling for him, and he kind of learned his lesson.
he's 27 years old. He's not, he called LeBron old, but and he's not old, but he's not 22. He's not 23, 24. Like
Yeah,
he's been around for a little while. Like better. You don't jerk on that chain unless if it might have looked great if Memphis goes out there and just
one.
dominates. And if you
Yeah,
win and you talk crap and then at the end of each press conference you actually stay for the press conference instead of leaving early
yeah,
and the NBA Memphis is fining you because you won't talk to the press because you look like a fool. Um, I, I don't agree with the way he was doing things, and I think he'll get another job somewhere. I think it's going to be on like I don't know the odds on thing, but I think it's going to be somewhere in like Orlando or somebody that some random team where he can just fit in and just kind of because the guy can't shoot, he's not athletic, um,
yeah,
he's strong, and he's bothersome, and so his biggest thing is like okay he doesn't really do anything well basketball wise, but he bothers people now, and he's a decent basketball player. He's much better than like myself or somebody else that's not an
yeah,
NBA
yeah,
not an NBA
yeah.
basketball. But besides bothering you, you don't do anything else. You're not special, and so I don't think he'll be in the league long, but I think he'll get another chance in some random team that just needs a body to fill a roster spot. And I think that, I mean, contractually, I mean, I think he was offered a contract at the beginning of the year that he refuted, and now his contract was up, and they said, "See ya." So maybe looking back at this instance, he should have took that
Yeah,
money when it was there.
yeah. So
But
that's a good segue into some other non-basketball news, right? Because he took a bet on himself, right? A lot of athletes will bet on themselves, and it can turn out or it can not turn out. So in his instance, it didn't turn out. He turned down a con. He's not going to get a good contract. It's going to be, I mean, it'll be good, right? It's going to be millions of dollars still. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
it's not what it was,
would have
in the
been.
beginning of the year, um, which parlays into some NFL news with a guy, Lamar Jackson. He bet on himself, right? He didn't. I think he was offered a contract a couple months ago. He's like, he kind of held out, stood his ground, did his thing, and now he got what 200 and some odd million,
5
highest
years.
paid NFL,
Yep.
highest paid player in the NFL, like 50 something million a year.
Yeah.
I don't know how
5 years.
much
5 years, 260.
how
Um,
much was guaranteed.
I think it was like 180 was guaranteed. So he's still not
So
the
essentially,
highest guaranteed after 3 years
oh
because he's
come
getting all
on,
that. After 3 years, they can. So Deshaun Watson's still the highest paid guaranteed.
Cleveland. I still can't. God, Cleveland. Jesus Christ. I still cannot believe they did that.
Yeah, it's yeah.
So
I
that
don't
yeah,
I don't understand it either. We'll see if hopefully Watson pans out. As a Browns fan, I'm hoping for the best. But I think Deshaun betting on himself. I think he's obviously going to make a lot of money because he doesn't have an agent, and so even 180 million of it's guaranteed. And so whatever percent he would have had to pay to that agent, he doesn't have to. And so he might make
I mean,
out.
180 million dollars is money we can't even
Yeah,
begin to fathom. So even if he had to pay 3% to his agent, we still couldn't fathom how
right.
much money that actually is. And I hate when they give the overall total, the 260. He's not going to see the 260 million. He's going to see the 180, and then something's going to happen. He's going to restructure or whatever.
Yep.
Same with Jalen Hurts, who got, I don't know how much his was, 170, 160 something.
Hmm.
He's going to see, that's all he's going to see. He's not going to see anything after that. It'll be restructured. As a 49ers fan, it was the same with Jimmy, right? He had the highest guaranteed money at the position when he signed it. He didn't see all that money. Um, he had to restructure his last year.
Right.
So 180 million is what he's going to see, and then he'll be up for another,
Right. Well, and
extension or whatever.
he's 20. He's 26 right now, and so in 3 years, he'll be 29, and so we'll see if he slows down or how injuries maybe creep
Yeah,
up later is in his progression, and then
yeah.
he'll be able to reevaluate and do his
I mean,
best
he's
for.
at the one position too. I mean, um, what's his name? I'm like Aaron Rodgers. is making like 40, 45 somewhere, and he's almost 40 years. I think he is 40 years old.
I think he's still.
So yeah, at that, I mean, at that position, the age is irrelevant. Tom Brady would have made that money at 45 if he didn't want to take a pay cut. You know, he would have made good money.
Right.
So Lamar's gonna make some cash if he stays healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Definitely.
same with Jalen, same with Pat Mahomes. They're gonna make a ton of money if they stay healthy, just because of the position they play.
Sure. Yep. So this year, yep, Aaron Rodgers 39. He'll be making 50.3 million.
50, 53, $50.3 million. Ungodly,
And this is a great segue to our next segment with Aaron Rodgers
which is
um,
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
going to the Jets and deciding he just wants to play with all his buddies. And so to me, I think if I was a Jets fan, like I'm great. I'm so happy Aaron Rodgers is there. And Sauce, I think Sauce is going to be really helpful as a wide receiver. But he's signing up with all of his buddies. I mean, he's got Randall Cobb, Valdez Scantling. Um, not saying Valdez Scantling was bad. I mean, I had him as a fantasy player and I wasn't happy with him most of the time. But I think he's just, it seems like Aaron's just doing a last hoorah with all his friends and he's going to have
Hmm.
fun and he's going to make a lot of money and he wants to stick it to Green Bay.
You almost wonder if it was more about control. You know, like
Mm,
Green Bay wasn't willing to give him what he wanted. He's like, I feel like I've done enough that you guys should, for lack of a better term, give me the, you know, like the LeBron treatment. I should have say in management decisions, you know, personnel decisions, whatever. And Green Bay was like, you know, we're not going to do that. So,
yeah,
because he picked a franchise in New York that's not been relevant in a while. I mean, when was the
yeah.
last time he went to the AFC Championship? Mark Sanchez, like that was
With the butt fumble.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they haven't been extremely relevant in a long time. So he makes them relevant by himself. They were
for
good.
sure.
They were a decent team last year.
Hmm.
So with him at quarterback, they're expected to at least make the playoffs. I would assume. I don't know.
Oh,
I
for
haven't
sure.
looked at the. They happen to be in a good division with
Mhm.
Buffalo and Miami and the Patriots. So
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, but the expectations are going to be high.
For sure. And it's like, do you think he could have went to a lot of other teams? Do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to beat Josh Allen and Buffalo Bills? I mean, I don't, do you think he's going to beat
Yeah,
Tua in Miami
I
with
think.
Tyreek and all those guys? I mean, I think that
Yeah, he
Aaron
picked a tough
Rodgers, I think,
conference.
yeah, it's tough. And I mean, and New England always overachieves somehow with Bill Belichick.
And that's
Uh,
just his division. I mean, he has to. At some point, he's going to have to play Patrick Mahomes. At some point, he may have to play Justin Herbert. We just talked about Lamar Jackson. Like,
yeah,
there's the AFC is loaded.
for
So,
sure. Yeah, it's
and the
stacked.
NFC, especially the NFC North, was dog doo doo. So, the fact that he left that division and went to the AFC East, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it was. We'll see. I don't think it was about football as much as it was. He just wanted to collect that last,
Hmm.
50 million.
Right. And if you look, I mean, what did his predecessor do? What did Favre do?
Same thing. Yeah.
Same thing. And, I mean, maybe he ends up in
Jets
Minnesota.
even. Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe he ends up embezzling money from welfare. So
yeah,
we'll
that's
see.
hopefully that doesn't happen. Oh,
We'll see how closely he wants to follow his footsteps.
yeah, for real. Oh God, don't go to yeah. Um, well, I think that covers everything that we were going to talk about with our sports. I don't
Okay.
know if you wanted to touch on anything else, Gage, or
I don't think so. I think we're
okay,
good here. We'll keep look, you should follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It's all rad_talk_DG.
okay.
I do most of the picks, so don't take my advice on the picks. We'll get Dennis, he'll get over his fear of
Of
cameras or whatever.
I will.
So we post a lot on TikTok. Um, I post a lot on TikTok, but
Yes.
that's where you'll find most of our updated sports talk. Since we want to do this once a week, that's where
Mhm.
we'll keep you updated on the games, the NBA games that happen in between episodes.
Right.
Um,
And I'll
I
get
think,
on I'll get better. I posted a
yeah,
TikTok and I'm gonna do better at it because my
he'll get
last
over his
TikTok, my
fear.
last TikTok I posted, I was 100% correct.
See,
Um,
I haven't been right once, so
so we're gonna get like a spreadsheet and we're gonna
it's
make
yin
it
and yang here.
and see how the spreadsheet goes. I'm as pumped to see how